Hey, Adelia.
Hey, good evening. How
How
are
you doing?
you?
First of all, today, low key today, but we all right. We are still here. It is so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Yes, we are still here.
Period. And you know what? I really enjoyed talking to you the other day offline. I think it was the first time I actually got to like really talk to you, just because usually when I see you, there is so much going on, and we have not had a chance to really connect. So I was really appreciative of the
Yeah.
first of many conversations.
Yes, I enjoyed our conversation too. It was so good. It was a great segue into this conversation.
It really was. So I'm just looking forward to it. But before we hop into everything else, I do want to welcome everyone on. Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is Camille Estick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast for innovators and creators connect. Be sure to like us and subscribe right now. I'm so excited to bring in Adelia Johnson. Adelia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Adelia Johnson, and I am so honored to be here on tonight with my sister Camille. I just shared the broadcast. I think you should do the same. Let's see. What can I tell you? I'm from Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta native, born and raised here. Let's see. I'm a Grady baby. For anybody that knows what that means that you're officially from Atlanta. Okay. I went to Clark Atlanta University. I'm a social worker by profession. I go to the greatest church in the world with the Spirit of Truth Church. I
We
mean,
both do. Don't
yes,
leave
we
me
do. Led by Pastor Mark Moore Jr. Absolutely.
out.
And let's see, I'm a youth mental health first aid trainer. I love long walks on the beach.
So, first of all, you are an Atlantean for real, because
Yes.
I hear the commercials on 102.5, saying I'm a Grady baby. And I'm like, okay, that's cute, whatever. But that's cool. Like, and then to go to an HBCU, Clark, Atlanta. So
Yes.
you are a true Atlantean, not a transient, not a transplant, but from Atlanta. So
That's right. That's right. From the A.
from the A. So okay, so since you're from Atlanta, what do you think about people coming in, taking over the city, not respecting the history of Atlanta,
Hmm.
all the changes, the gentrification, the investment companies? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll say this. There's a nostalgia, like when I drive through the city and I see like where certain things were and what certain things used to be. And sometimes it can be a bit heartbreaking, if I can be honest.
You getting
Because
your
I feel
feelings
like
sometimes?
huh?
You getting your feelings sometime about it?
Yeah, I do kind of get in my feelings about it because it's like Atlanta used to feel like this community. It used to feel so much smaller. I guess that's a good way to put it. It used to just feel real good. Like it used to feel, I don't know, like the best way I can describe it is a Saturday drive through the city without running into traffic.
Wow.
And now you can't go anywhere, without running into traffic. So sometimes I grieve the old Atlanta, but growth is good, expansion is good. The way that we're going about it, whether or not I'm a fan of that, probably not. But yeah, growth is good, but I do miss the old Atlanta sometimes, honestly.
So, did you go to Cascade? Like, I always want to know, like, because I watched ATL. That's one of my favorite Atlanta movies, favorite coming of age movies. Period.
Yeah,
But just like the Cascade,
I did. I went to Cascade on the west side, and I went to um oh gosh, it's over here on Wesley Chapel on the east side. Not Sparkle. I think that's in Smyrna. Golden, not yeah, yeah, Golden Glide. Yeah, that's it. Golden Glide is the one that's over here on the east side. So I've been to Golden Glide. I actually know how to skate. A lot of people don't know that.
what?
I do. Now I used to could do some fancy tricks or whatever, but I can stay on my feet. I'll say that.
I can go straight, but again, I have like skate envy because I follow there's a skating group on TikTok, and they actually like cascade like all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, I wish, I could do that. But because, you know, the 2000s and I was in the sorority and want to pledge and step stroll, now the The knees. Like, girl, please.
The knees won't let you be great.
The knees. The knees like a baby giraffe. I'm like,
Can you imagine that? A baby giraffe on roller skates.
it's not cute. And I'm holding on to the wall like, y'all leave me alone.
Like y'all got it. Y'all got it.
Yeah.
You need the little cone thing that the kids
No,
have.
don't do me like that. No.
I
I
need
can
it.
go. I don't need the walker with the what is that? Tennis ball? No, don't do me like that.
I need the walker. Y'all give me a walker.
No, ma'am. So I do want to learn how to skate.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I'm super appreciative just to have you here. For those, if you have not done so, please like, comment, and share. We're going to hop into this conversation, and we're going to have some real talk. So right now, I'm here with Adelia Johnson, and one of the things I want to ask you before we just delve deeper into the conversation is, what has inspired you, and what inspired you to get into your field?
Let's see what has inspired me. I would say I would have wanted for I would like to be what I wanted or needed for myself at certain times in my life. So as far as social work is concerned, how I got into that, I think that was more of a calling. That wasn't something that I chose. It was something that I was already doing. And so when I started researching master programs, and I actually had friends that went through the program that I went through, hearing what they did, hearing the work that they did, I said, wait a minute, I'm already doing that like free of charge. And you know how people always say, well, if you do it for free, then that's the thing that you need to be doing. So it was very interesting because connecting people like to resources and trying to improve people's lives, and by offering them support and things of that nature. Support can be my middle name if my mom wanted to be that. I'll just put it that way. So what inspires me is seeing people connected to their best self, despite any obstacles or any issues that they run across. Just seeing them just really tap into the greatest version of who they are.
That's really good. And also, as we get deeper into this conversation, thank you all for sharing. Hey, Regina. Hey, Auntie Angie. We got some Spirit and Truth family in the building. I definitely wanted to shout them out in particular. And I appreciate you all for hopping in for tonight's conversation. The first question I wanted to ask you is, there's a balancing act that comes in with business and branding. And sometimes we're in a space as far as, particularly with social media, we see every day my business, my brand, like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah. And even within our immediate circles, to the point where conversation is about your numbers. And don't get me wrong, I love accountability.
Yes.
But sometimes, can we just have a girlfriend conversation and just talk and laugh? Why does it always have to be business, brand, numbers, algorithm every day? So for you, what does that look like? Or do you have different circles? Like, you do have your entrepreneurial group and then you have your girlfriend group, or how do you navigate those spaces?
I think those spaces intersect for me. Meaning I've really like been blessed, and I don't mean to like over spiritualize like my situation, but it's real, because I've heard like horror stories, right, where you have the friend, it's always numbers, it's always business, it's always, well, what are you doing to build your brand, and it's always about money, so much so that you lose the relationship and you lose the connection and you lose the authenticity of the relationship. For me, I have been blessed to where all of those things can kind of cross intersect, to where I have the girlfriends, but I also have where people are holding me accountable for the thing that God has called me to do. So for me, I'm blessed in the sense that I do have friends that I can laugh with, I can kiki ha ha, but I can also cry. I can also fail. I can also, most important, I can also mess up. And so I'm blessed to have a circle of people that I can screw up, I can mess up, and I'm not, being tacked to a cross or anything like that. And I'm also very thankful that I do have people, because the type of person that I am, It's so interesting that you mentioned like algorithms and numbers and things of that nature. So I think it's important to have people in your circle that care. I think God equips us with certain people in our circle that care and are skilled for certain things. I don't care about numbers, Camille. If I if I can be honest, like if I feel like God has told me to say something or do something, I'll do it and just not worry about the numbers or the money or the budget. But the truth of the matter is, you do need people that are strong and skilled in some of those areas so that you can be effective and so that what you're doing, is making an impact. Because in some cases, those things do matter. But get people around you that can care about that if you don't care about it, if that makes sense.
No, that's really good. And then also looking at the power of transparency, the power of transparency within, what we do as far as business and storytelling. Because, for example, I just watched Kurt Franklin's documentary, Father's Day on YouTube, and
Goodness.
it really shifted how I listen to his music now and what it's like a soundtrack. And if you've been following him, we kind of knew a little bits and pieces,
Yeah.
but this documentary kind of brought it full circle. And so now thinking about his other albums, he's been telling us the story for years, but did we
Yeah.
really catch it? And so that connectivity through the audience and now releasing a new album. Can you touch on the power of transparency in our audience as far as connectivity and storytelling, whether it's through ministry or if you have a product or business or brands or however you want to label that? And also, second fold, where is the line as far as you're not telling all your business like being messy, but then you want to be transparent?
Absolutely. Um Speaking to the power of transparency. There's so much freedom in um in being transparent. I think the key to transparency though is owning your truth so nobody can hold it against you, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it's very important to come to terms with your own reality. Do not step into a spirit of transparency if you have not yet owned your own history, issues, whatever the case may be. Because transparency, I mean, and transparency doesn't always have to mean trauma, right? It can be a number of things. However, I think it's very important to be solid and firm in whatever it is that you want to be transparent about, because people and the enemy will always find a way to turn what is meant for good and try to make it look bad or make it look evil and try to twist the story. And so if you're not sure or solid in whatever it is that you're being transparent about, then then you can't openly go through all of the things that come with transparency. Like the beautiful thing about what Kirk Franklin did is, although we watched him publicly go through a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of identity issues, right? Because of his or lack of relationship with his mom and dad. However, what we also saw was how many people were impacted and healed, and it triggered people to reconcile. It triggered people to explore their own hurts, their own pains. And so I really see his story as God setting him up, um and using his transparency as a footstool to deliver a lot of people. And even though it may seem like it may have been bad in a moment, that situation right there made that scripture where God knew the plans that he had for us before we were born, that brings that like to life. So if anybody has issues with bringing scripture into reality, that was a real life scripture that was brought to life through that story.
That's good. And I also thought about too, it's you hear Romans 8:28 all the time, all things work together for good of them
Yeah.
that are called and then you also think about meant for evil, but God meant it for my good. Like you hear all these scriptures and so full circle because even in him having a greater revelation as far as his father, which was traumatic, but to see also his mom not wanting to give him closure. And
Mhm.
so the thing is, how do we heal and give ourselves closure or how can I word it? How do we walk in closure when the offender refuses to participate in the healing process and have accountability and to give us closure? How do we do that?
I would say that it would definitely take and I think honestly this will probably be the most powerful thing is that you need grace. You're gonna have to have it. And the reason why is because you can harbor a lot of resentment and a lot of hurt and you can carry some weight that you didn't even know you were carrying. And you think you've let things go, but sometimes you can bump your leg and it reminds you that you got a bruise. So I think grace is really important to even begin to try to reconcile with someone that may be dead, that did you wrong, offended you, someone that may be that may refuse to see the error of their ways. They may think they didn't do anything wrong. We live in a society of gaslighters. Do you know what I'm saying? They setting the whole thing on fire.
Yes. Yes.
And they will make you feel as though your feelings aren't valid, your experience wasn't real. They'll make you feel, all types of ways. And so it's very important because and I'm reminded actually of David, Saul, David, he tried to kill him. I'm sorry, not Saul, but the king that David was
Saul.
serving. Yeah, Saul, thank you. He tried to kill him, but yet he served him, right? So what kind of feelings and emotions did that stir up? And so I can only imagine that like you had to have some kind of grace in order to push through on your assignment and in order to push through past somebody that did you wrong, that you want to get back yourself. But I tell you what, experience has taught me that God gets the best get back ever. And not that you want to see people fall, or you don't want to see, well, you shouldn't, but you don't want to see people go through, or anything like that. But there's a principle that God has laid out in his word. And the principle is you reap what you sow. And that's not just money. And so you have to be careful of the seeds that you've sown. And thank God again for grace, because just because their offense hurt us in the way that it did, and it may seem like a great offense, that doesn't exclude us from the times that we have offended people and the times that we have offended God. And so just because it may not be on a greater scale or a bigger scale or even on a public platform, that doesn't mean that we haven't jaded God in some kind of way. But yet here he is giving us grace and still blessing us and doing what he does for us. And so the greatest release that you can give anybody, I think, is grace and mercy and freeing them and letting them go.
And it's a process because you didn't get there overnight.
Absolutely.
And some people are like, oh, well, just let it go. But you have to realize there are layers. Oh, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all so clumsy. I dropped my phone. There are layers to healing. One of the things is just acknowledging that you feel how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And just being honest and saying, like, you know what, hey, I have been holding a grudge or an offense, pastor that he's been teaching on walking in offense. Like, I have been feeling this way, or that did happen to me, and just opening up and just owning the emotion. And sometimes within yourself, because particularly in the church arena, blessed and highly favored, we spit that out so much. Yes, you are blessed and highly favored, but let's be real. You're mad. And you're in your feelings and you feel away. And so we have to first acknowledge the feeling, first acknowledge the anger, the resentment, the bitterness, and rip the Band-Aid off, because that's the beginning of the healing process, is admittance. And then two, you have to also then go back and emotionally revisit not only what they did, but what did you do?
Absolutely.
Because let's be honest. Our life is like a book and there are chapters. And let's be real, friends. In somebody's chapter, you're the villain. You're not the hero in every chapter.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest about that. And so we have to walk these things out. But looking at Kirk's story, you see how he was going through brokenness and how he then projected some of those things to his son, and then his relationship with his son became fractured. But he had to come back around, and his son was on guard. If you notice, he was ready to go there. And
He
then when
was.
he saw like, oh, that's not what this is, and you see his son break down because we have these walls up because we
Yeah.
want to protect ourselves. But then at the same time, now you've created this prison where you are the warden and the prisoner, but you
Ooh.
also have to be.
Right. That's good, Camille. That's really good. That's really good. It reminds me. I'm sorry. Do you mind if I share something?
Sure, sure.
It reminds me of when I reconciled with my dad. So my dad wasn't always in my life. Drug use took him in and out. And so I remember during college, I saw him actually down in the Atlanta University Center.
Okay,
And I did not speak to him, nor did I acknowledge him. I walked on by. I don't even think he knew who I was. So it
okay,
was very weird because we I think, kind of walked by each other. I was like on one side, he was on the other side, and just kind of walked by. And I remember shortly after that, God told me to find him and to remind him that somebody loves him. And I said, God, I know you funny. I know this is a joke. And I had to really come to terms with, no, God said, find him and tell him someone loves him. And I said, well, he said, say someone. He didn't say me. So, okay, I'll honor the assignment. And so after some years, of reconciling and talking and, bridging that gap and bringing that back in, I thought that we were okay. And it was one day that he said that he was going to, mind you, he hadn't always been there, right? So I'm thinking, hey, we walking in grace, we're doing great, we're healing and reconciling, and everything's all good, right? People are asking me about our relationship. I'm like, oh, everything's going great. And it was one day he told me he was going to be somewhere where I was to support me, and he did not show up for reasons that were beyond his control. However, Camille, I didn't know I was so mad. Do y'all remember Tyler Perry movie?
which one?
Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And she said she didn't know how mad she was until she had to take care of him.
My favorite scene, she was like, Christina, Christina's gone.
Camille.
That thing takes me out. Because I would have done the same thing.
Absolutely. But I didn't know I was so mad, Camille. Like I called him. I said some things. If y'all would have knew what I said some things. Do you hear me? But in that moment, it was so crazy because right after that moment, God showed me, yeah, you reconciled, but you didn't heal. You didn't fix fix the root of the problem. Him not being there triggered you really bad. After that, I went on a 21-day water fast, Camille. That was my first ever fast. I went on a 21-day fast. Yeah, God had to fix it. I said, oh, I don't want to be this mad. I was like, God, I don't want to be this angry. But I was mad, and I didn't realize I was dealing with like rage. And so I went on a 21-day water fast, and thank God after that, I was like healed for real. But but I said that to say that yes, it is a process, and you have to be honest. I had to be honest with him, and I had to say, you know what, I was really angry at blah 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 blah. And I said, I have to come to terms with the fact that you just don't have the capacity to give me what I expect. And so I have to respect your capacity, because what I thought I was going to get is a dad with a cape and you making up all these years of being absent. You just don't have the capacity for that. You're trying to recover, from drug use and trauma of your own. You don't have the capacity to love me the way that I desire to. So let me meet you where you are, and let me accept the capacity in which you can love me, and consider that a blessing.
That's good. When you were talking about your dad, it made me go back and I started thinking about my father. Um, I always say that if Tyler Perry got a hold of my life story, it would be a series on Netflix written by Shonda Rhimes. Like
Wow.
it is absolute crazy.
Wow.
And so popcorn, like yum 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 yum.
Yeah.
It's trip. And so my father died 2019. I was still in the military. Got a call, he died. But mind you, I did not meet him until I was 19.
Wow.
So my father, at one point, he was an interim pastor in the Ohio Council PAW under Bishop Bowers. But because my parents divorced when I was so small, a lot of people didn't know who I was, except for like Bishop Hosey, a few people, because they remember me when I was a baby. So they had not seen me until I was like, since I was like 6 months old. Fast
Wow.
forward, my father dies, have the funeral, church is packed wall to wall. A lot of people are like, who is this girl? You know, and so they have me speak on behalf of the family. Um, Lady Rebecca Bowers is there, a lot of Ohio Council names, a lot of people in the room, church packed
Wow.
wall to wall, room only. And so when they announced for me to get up to speak on behalf of the family, you could literally hear people gasp.
Wow, really?
And then I even had someone at the repast walk up to me and go, they said, well, you do look like him. While mid chicken in my hand, you know, that's what we do, we eat chicken. But and
We do.
I had to remain poised, I had to remain gracious. But it was the fact that a lot of people did not know who I was, didn't know of me. They were
Wow.
like, is that a niece or cousin? Didn't know I was his daughter.
Mm.
After the funeral, at the time, my then pastor, Bishop Merritt, he's getting phone calls because people are calling him, verifying my identity. Like, is that really his daughter? Because Bishop Merritt knew my father. So he was like,
Wow.
is that really, you know, his daughter? And she really, he's like, yes, she's a good, you know, member, sweet girl. That was her father. I knew him. Like, I had to vouch. It was so wild. And so I was so angry because when he died, we were not speaking because he
Right.
wanted to just hop in and have this father-daughter relationship. And I said, no, we need to have a conversation about you being absent for 19, 20 years of my life. And then you want to jump in and hop in and just pick up. And I said, no. And so
Right.
there was a period of time where the conversations were not great. And so the last conversation, I told him, I said, you have my number, you have my social media, you have my email address, you know how to reach me. So when you're ready to have that conversation, we need to be able to talk about you not being here before we do anything else. And I was willing to, you know, form some type of relationship, but I'm the type of person I don't want to build on mess. Like we need to be grown and sit here and talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So because he didn't want to do that back in March, before he died, my stepmom had called me like, "You need to come up here and see your father," and I said no. And I say this because this is the power of your words.
Yeah.
I said I'm not coming up there. The next time I see him, he will be laid out in a casket in front of my grandmother's church.
Wow.
I said, unless we have a conversation, I said, the next time I see him, it'll be in a casket in the church.
Yeah. Wow.
That was March. In July, I got a phone call. He was dead and he was in the casket in my grandmother's church.
Wow, Camille.
And
Jeez.
so that's why we have to watch our mouth. Number two, I was angry because I'm like, this man didn't want to have this conversation with me, you know, and for years I'm thinking like, what's wrong with me? What's going on? And I
Right.
had to deal with that. So when the pandemic hit and I'm in here by myself, I just got out of the Navy, came to Charlotte here by myself. And it was actually during a watch night service. And I was praying and talking to God, and it was like he dropped in my spirit. And I felt this anger come over me. And God said, pretty much just paraphrasing, let it go. He said, I've already dealt with him on how he handled you and what he did not do. I already dealt with him on that. So let it go. And I was still crying. And God was like, I dealt with him about you. Let it go. And this
Yeah.
release came over. And, you know, I hate it happened after he died. But even in death, God gave me a peace and was still able to him and release it. But I wanted to have the conversation.
Right.
But I had to realize after that conversation with God, he was not capable of having the conversation.
Yeah.
I was expecting something from someone that did not have the capacity to give it to me. And in
Wow.
that, to find an alternate route for me to just accept the closure. And sometimes the closure is realizing that you wouldn't get the closure.
You're right. You're absolutely correct, because you know, it's interesting because we sometimes we have ways of demanding things a certain way. So we want healing to happen a certain way. And sometimes we I think we restrict God and think that it cannot be done unless it's done in the way that we think. And so I can only imagine the impact that, because I believe that I felt that with my dad's absence as well. But the concept of not being claimed, like lost luggage, like what is it about me that you don't want to claim me, that you don't want people to, to know, or whatever the case may be? That can get so deeply rooted, Camille, and that thing can take root, and that thing can start manifesting in ways, and we're responding in ways, and we're talking in ways, and we're dealing with people in ways, and we're in relationships in ways with things and doing things that we just do not understand, because something has taken root. And it's this idea that, just simply put, why won't you claim me? But what I love about God is that he has a beautiful way of coming back around. And like you said, he said to you, "No, I dealt with him." And so we do have to get past in our minds that we have to publicly see that person get dealt with. No, like, I want to sit down. I want to have a conversation. I want to look him in the eye. I want to do this. But God is so gracious that he will even take the offender. This is this is crazy. He will even take the offender and deal with the offender in such a merciful and graceful way, where he probably dealt with him in private, and he probably dealt with his heart. But because we didn't get validation or confirmation that it was dealt with, we didn't get the email. God, you didn't send us the email
We
saying that you
want the
dealt.
satisfaction. We want the justice. We
We
want to
want the
see
justification and
we
the
want to
satisfaction.
see the remorse and repentance. And sometimes God will deny us of that because it's out of a place of pride and flesh, and not out of a place of grace.
And guess what, Camille? It also comes out of a place of stripping God of his glory. Because if you gave it to me and you laid it out with me, it could be taken or assumed that I did this. That because I pulled your heartstrings enough to apologize to me. I worked
But
you
how
enough.
many times did God not expose us too?
Yeah, you said that.
We want our stuff behind closed doors, but we want everyone else things on Front Street.
And all because it stems from offense. You did me wrong. And people need to know that you did me wrong. But there is a special reward. I truly believe there is a special favor that God gives for people that do not expose people that hurt you, harmed you, and you truly forgiven. And everybody in their head has this narrative like, oh, they treated you so well, and oh, they were so nice to you. You thinking to yourself, you have no idea. But you know what? I'm gonna let you keep thinking that, because it's not my place to expose. Because I don't want to take God's glory, right? I don't want to take God's power, and I don't want to take what God is trying to do. And so, yeah, it's really important to remind ourselves. I think to really ask ourselves, why do I want what I want? What's the real reason why I want what I want? And then after you explore that, you got to be honest and have an honest conversation and be like, okay, well, this is about me then. And God, I need you to fix it. One thing I know for sure, if you pray to God to remove some things and thoughts and feelings off of your heart, if you're honest, you got to be honest though. He'll do it. And he'll talk to us like daughters. He'll treat us like the daughters that we are, and love on us, and comfort us and console us and heal us for real.
That's good. And I also think, going to the next segment, as far as now, it forces us to revisit the definition of healing.
Mm,
Because now, looking at, for example, with my father and learning more about his upbringing, he had some trauma, you know, And so he didn't know how to even express love because in the documentary, Kurt Franklin made a comment. He said, when you're paraphrasing, feeling like you're not worthy of love, and then when you get it, you don't even know what to do with it.
Ooh.
And it was like, regardless of all the things he had done, good and bad and ugly, here's my daughter, regardless of me being absent in her life, regardless of me not doing whatever in her life, she still wants me.
Yeah.
And trying to wrap his mind and comprehend that. And how many times have we done that with friends or relationships where we have invalidated our worthiness to receive love or purpose? And so then we are on this mission of sabotage. We are burning everything down and snatching the curtains down on the way out.
Yeah. Ooh,
because like, who am I? I don't have pedigree. I don't have lineage. I don't have this money. I don't have a degree. I don't have the circle. I don't have the connections. We're so quick to disqualify what we feel like we qualify or what we're worthy or not worthy of. And God is like, I knew your deficiencies from the beginning. I made you. So why do you keep throwing your deficiencies in that face? Don't you think I already knew that? But because I qualified you, because I make you worthy. So why do we keep throwing up the deficiencies when God said, I know this already?
Right.
But I qualified you.
That's good.
Let's talk about it.
That's good. Let's have a conversation. Man, that's so good. We have to be very careful on our diet, because our diet will cancel out the healthy things that God has told us, the things that he said about us, the things that he has confirmed for us. If we're not careful, sometimes it was so interesting because that prayer on Saturday when we were wrecked on the floor,
on the wall, on the floor. Oh my God!
I felt like my ear was real warm, and as I was praying, I was holding my ear, and God was reminding me that you need to be very careful on what you've accepted in your ear, because you've let more lies outweigh the truth that I've said about you. And so now the question is, are you going to idolize the lies though? Like, are you going to idolize what people's opinions about you have been? Are you going to idolize? Because let's talk about what it is. An idol is something that you give more credit to, that you give more thought to, right? And so if you give more thought to the lies that the enemy have told you, that don't nobody want you, that don't nobody want to claim you, that you're not that smart, you're not that bright, you're not worthy of being loved. If you let more of that push out what God has said about you, then yeah, you're making your trauma an idol. And what's happening is your heart is hardening with that. Every time you believe a lie, your heart starts to get harder towards the truth about what God said. So you're right. So what happens is we begin to self-sabotage because no, I don't deserve it. And the enemy will make you think you don't deserve it. However, like you said, we bring back up to God the thing that he done forgot about. And so we have to be around people that speak God's truth to us so we can start getting that diet. Your diet is so important. You have to start, because if it took all those years, right, Camille, to believe those lies, it's going to take some time to believe what God says about you. And you're going to mess up along the way. You're going to err along the way. You're going to make decisions that are not reflective of who you are. I've done it. You're going to do things. You're going to say things. You're going to act in ways that are not reflective of who God says that you are. But you'll get there. And that is the point. The point is believing that I will get there, and even praying, God, you know what? I was not my best self today, but I am really trying my best. Like, these are conversations y'all got to have with God, like real conversations. Like, no, God, I really wasn't my best self. I really want to believe what you've said about me, but it's hard. And I'm asking that you'll surround me with people that will pour into me, that will speak truth to me. And even when I reject it, that God, you will have them love me in the midst of the rejection of the truth that I know that you've spoken over my life. And if you just keep doing it, I did it. I prayed it. And here I am with you. Here I am with an Olivia. Here I am with the Pastor Bellinger, because we both have had, have had conversations with him. Here I am with a pastor like Mark Moore Jr. Here I am with Spirit and Truth Church. Like, I'm thinking about my orbit now and the circles around me. Now at this particular juncture, Camille, if somebody speak a lie to me, I know it's a lie, because now the truth has begun to invade my space, and I've been eating more of a truth diet. And so now that I've been eating more of a truth diet, all of the lies are beginning to fall off. They're sounding more and more strange. They're sounding more and more unacceptable. And when you start switching out your diet, you don't stand for the same things anymore. You don't tolerate the same things anymore. Your circuit is shorter for people that come and try to hold you to who you were and who you once was, and get mad because they benefited from the broken you and they can't do anything with the healed you. So therefore, you all mad and upset because I'm not subjected to who I was. I'm not the same person. Yeah, you are right. I am acting brand new, and you can too.
Yeah, and that's good. And then also another point, tying to what you said when you were talking about your ear gate and these thoughts, and Romans 12:2 came to my mind, just paraphrasing, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And sometimes we hear that, we always think about the world, church, secular world, and then sin.
Right.
But the world also encompasses the world in your mind. Whether you're living in a world of depression, you're living in a world of low self-esteem, you're living in a world of fear, doubt, and unbelief, you're conforming to those worlds. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So what does that transformation look like? That transformation looks like a world of acknowledgement, a world of accountability, a world of peace, a world of healing, a world of love, a world of worthiness, not to be but a world of confidence. And how do you do that? The whole armor of God by what? The helmet of salvation. And what do we do? We have to also, what the scripture said, think on these things, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is pure, whatever is of a good report. If there be any virtue, any praise, think on these things.
That's right.
So we are transforming this world and being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Bro, what's on your mind? Because the word of God in Psalm says, my eyes will look unto the hills from which comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. But it goes back to what's on your mind.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
Ooh, that's good, Camille. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. That's how the concept of, and I pray no one's offended by this, but that's how the concept of pimps being able to hold on to women like they do, without a chain or a leash, because it's up here.
Because in the world, what they say, you get a woman's mind, the body will follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure will. That's good, Camille. That's good. Just write the book already.
What we're reading, what we're watching, what we're taking in, the conversations, people we entertain. Just today, didn't make an announcement or post on my Facebook. I just quietly unfollowed 2 people, and because I'm just like seeing this every day. You're monitoring people's pages, or you're putting up jokes that are just tasteful.
Yes.
Just quietly per my social media, because when I turn on my phone, if it's not encouraging, if it's not empowering me, informative, bye.
Right.
Bye.
And you don't need to make no big announcements.
There's not even a benediction. Unfollow.
That simple. That simple. And if I may add, it is so, because you mentioned something about the people around you. It is so important, and it's not judging. It is what it is. But sometimes you do have to quietly just let go of people around you, because They don't want to have conversations when it's about salvation.
Or just even if they are saved, because I'm over the mean girl culture. We're friends, always slicks and digs and being shady. Bye. I don't have the energy for that.
No.
I don't have the energy for the mean girl energy. May the Lord watch.
May the Lord watch. I like that. That's the name of the book.
Be absent one from another in real life. Bye.
In real life, I will never forget. There was a girl that we were new friends. Okay, we were getting to know each other and all this other stuff. Hanging real tough. All right. One day we were riding in the car, and I heard her on the phone, and she put the phone on speaker. She was like, "Watch this, watch this." I was like, "All right, all right." Well, I don't know what I'm watching, but okay, I'll watch. She put this guy on speakerphone, and she said, "You know, your wife called me earlier today." And and she said, if you want to keep your wife, I'm about to send you a list of bills that I need paid. And you should have heard shaking in this dude's voice. And she was like, don't worry about it. She was like, I made it sound like we were friends and we were in the military together. And she actually invited me over because she thinks I'm an old friend. So I'm gonna need you to take care of that. And then I will call you back later or whatever. So she hung up the phone. And she was like, you see, I don't have to worry about no bills. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to worry about that. I said, oh, Camille, I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, let me out the car right now. Like, because I don't want no parts in that. Like, I don't want to be anywhere that you are and that woman finds out about you and we both shot up. And not just that, ma'am. I don't know how you grew up. I don't know your traumas. It ain't my business. The Lord can keep you. I can't. I got to get away from you. And so she called me for like weeks after that. And I was ducking and dodging. I was not comfortable with that. Do you hear me? And she was like, oh, they got a beautiful house, big house. Why don't you come with me to the pool? Da, 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 da. No, ma'am. Our integrity and our morals and values do not align in the slightest bit.
Yeah, and it's about alignment and agreement, walking together. How do we do that if we're not on the same page?
Absolutely, and that includes friends.
It includes friends. And I'm in a space now where even how you treat people, and I see you're messy and you're rude and you're nasty and you're condescending or your classes and egregious. I'm distancing myself from you because I don't want that in my space. And if you're not monitoring that, you'll pick it up. And then you'll find yourself doing it and keep and thinking it's cute. And that's not what we're doing over here.
That's right. No LOL, Camille.
No LOL. And so it's definitely, this summer has definitely been a space of reevaluation, looking inward, and seeing people, friends, associates. Are you people that I find conducive to my purpose and my future and where I'm going in this direction?
Yes.
Because if you 40 and you still want to twerk, sis, I can't.
More power and grace to you, but I can't.
You 40 years old and you still trying to get your rap career off the ground, bro, I can't.
Perhaps the Lord is carrying you another way.
It's different. I just need a space where it's reciprocal, because we can be in a space where we're pouring out, but we're not poured into. And there are seasons where maybe you're the pitcher, the next season you're the glass. But at some point, we need to be the pitcher and the glass for each other. Not you always just the pitcher and I'm always the glass. That's not fair.
That's
10 years and you're still the pitcher.
Right. Baby, the power of reciprocation. Reciprocation is a requirement.
Right. Yes,
and sometimes I will like in the mornings, like when I'm praying, I will ask God to reveal to me if I am coming up short in my reciprocation. And he'll show me, like, you need to, address this, or not necessarily address, but okay, you need to move and put some energy over here, because it's been a lot of giving and not a whole lot of it's been a whole lot of giving to you and not a whole lot of giving back. And so I think that's important to pray, because sometimes we can just get so busy with life So it's important to check ourselves, self reflection, to look and make sure that we are engaging in reciprocation in our relationships.
Yes, and out of fairness, do realize there are seasons where you don't have it, and maybe you pour out so much your pitcher is empty.
Absolutely.
And that's where the grace comes in, because if I'm your friend and I've seen you, you've been going through a lot, and you've been experiencing a lot of no's and a lot of rejections,
Yeah.
and just a moment where you've been attempting to go in this space, and it's just like you've given everything you got and nothing is happening for you, and you're in a space. I can understand that, and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? This is a season of drought for you. So
Yes.
let me be the picture and pour. But I
Yeah.
don't want to condemn you and make you feel less than just because in this season you're not able to pour, or
Right.
that you are empty. Because sometimes on social media, you know, we have these perceptions of you're on 10, your glass is always full, you know, everything is lit, everything is 1,000. When in reality, that's not the case. And sometimes you don't have the juice, the gas, or whatever it is to afford. And then you have to pull back. Like I had a conversation. It was Dr. Carrie Turner and some other ladies who were on a closed Zoom call. And this summer, I just went through a lot of things. And she said something, and it made a light bulb go off. And she was like, we were all describing the same emotion. And didn't realize we were all in the same space.
Wow.
She said, because you're grieving. You're grieving some missed opportunities. You're grieving some closed doors. You're at a certain part in your life because by this age, you thought you were going to be here, 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 here. And you've been branding on the go, writing on the go, podcasting on the go, building businesses on the go, getting degrees on the go, but you didn't grieve people you lost during the pandemic. You didn't grieve the engagement that fell through. You didn't take time to grieve, you know, being looked over on a promotion. You didn't take time to grieve the job that you thought you wanted and they chose somebody else. So to make yourself feel better, you just went and got another degree. You released another, you built another brand. You lost 15 more pounds. Like she went on the list, and we were all just like, good. And it's not always because someone died, but something in you died along with those no's. And you have to take the time to acknowledge that hurt. Because again, blessed and highly favored, true, but you felt a way about that no. Right. And then you grieved God making you wait.
God.
God says three things: yes or wait. And if he don't say yes, if he say no or wait, then you grief. Repass chickens in the fellowship hall because you're grieving.
Yeah. Ooh.
Did you ever take time to grieve the no God gave you?
Ooh, that's not
knowing he's preparing the yes for you, but you so stuck on a no, you can't even prepare for the yes.
Ooh. I had to write that one out. So when I go back and look, that was good. That hit home.
Stuck on the no he gave you in 2015. You can't even see the yes that's coming down the pipeline because you're stuck on the no.
Oh, that's so good.
So now you're walking in offense not with people, but with God. Because now you're treating God like the people that offended you.
Ooh,
so because now you're in your feelings, well, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to watch the live stream. Or I'm not going to pray. I'm going to turn on CBS and watch Gayle King, and I'll just pray later. Or it's Tuesday. I'm not going to turn off my plate. I'll just make up my day later on this week.
Wow. Man.
So now you're treating, because when you get upset with people, they call you and you answer the phone at your convenience. Like, I'll call them back later. But then you take that behavior and you turn it to God because he wakes you up at 5:30, but you sleep in at 7:15 and say, oh, I'll just pray when I get up.
Oh, my God. That's good. That's good.
Because why? You mad at God because he gave you the no.
Wow. And then it's offering time in the sanctuary.
It will. Like for example, let's say you
Good.
wanted to marry somebody and the engagement fell through, and you pray that prayer, Lord, if he's not the one, let it fall apart. So it crumbles like a stale crispy cookie, and it falls apart. And now you're mad, not knowing if God had allowed you to marry that joker. That fool had a boyfriend, and you didn't know about it.
Come on, Camille.
And now you sit up here with community cookies for life.
Not community cooties.
But he broke your heart to save your life.
He broke your heart to save your life. Wow. Now that's good right there. Yeah, just go on and write. You can go on and write the book now, because that was really good. That hit that right there. And the crazy thing is, if you knew what was on the other side, you'd be praising God.
Yeah.
But real trust.
He got Christian keys for you, but you crying over shopper ranks. Okay.
Y'all gonna go get Christian keys and leave Shopper where he at. Or the Lord could have a Michael B. Jordan.
He could.
Yes, he could. I call it forth.
Yes. Maybe each elbow has a twin. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah. Everybody said they got a twin in the world somewhere. I don't know.
The Lord is kind,
He is kind and he is merciful. With love and kindness as he draw me. Hallelujah.
He'll draw me.
I felt that in my shondo.
Oh, girl, me too.
So we have been on here for a little while. I think we need to do a part 2.
Oh, I agree. That would be great.
We definitely need to do a part 2. I hope everyone is enjoying this conversation. Before we close out this conversation, Adelia, do you have like any like nuggets or gems that you feel that people can take away with them as we wrap up this conversation? And then also, until we bring you back on the next time, and then also where people can follow you on social media.
Absolutely. So my takeaway would be, don't change who God made you to be or called you to be just because the enemy challenged what God said that you were. That would be my biggest thing, because everything that God says that you are is going to be challenged. And don't let the enemy talk you off of your God character. Don't let him talk you out of who God has called you to be. So that would be my biggest takeaway. But you can follow me on every platform that is I Am My Morning Coffee. On not Amazon. Well, I have books on Amazon, but not Amazon. But on IG, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Popple. I love Popple, by the way. If y'all don't know what Popple is, but it's like this little one-stop shop for all of your stuff. But so you all can follow me there. All things I Am My Morning Coffee.
Awesome. This has just been a great conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and didn't realize this conversation was going to go where it went. But clearly, it needed to be said, and I hope someone has gotten something from this conversation. I definitely cannot wait to have you back, and you've just been a joy. And yeah, you all let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to follow me online on social media. I am on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I think now it's Threads.
Threads.
Just all the things. I am there. First of all, Spirit and Truth, shout out to y'all for showing up in a mighty way.
Absolutely. Y'all so dope.
But I have to shout out Deaconess Nancy. Like, I love her. I finally got to meet her Sunday. She is such a gem. She's so warm. I just like, some people just want to hug. She's one of those people. And so we definitely have to shout her out, because she's just a gem to me and to many others. So with that being said, I do appreciate you all for joining us here on the Speaker Podcast. We'll be back October 2nd with another great conversation. And so if you missed this live, the replay will be available immediately after. And be sure to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Follow me there. And I now have the Speaker Podcast Premium. It's available starting at just $3 a month. So exclusive conversations and interviews will be available when you subscribe, beginning with just $3 a month. We are attempting to grow the Speaker Podcast in other areas as well. So thank you. And with that being said, this is the Speaker Podcast where innovators and creators connect. I'm your host, Camille Estick, and see you guys on the next conversation. Be blessed. Good night.
Bye. Good night, y'all.